Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show we're doing another speed build, but this time we're doing it with the brand new kit that's just come out from Tamiya, and that is the Super Storm Dragon. Yeah, we know the name's not quite right, but there we go. Now if you don't know about this kit, originally it was just a body that you could purchase from Tamiya to put on your Hornet, but for some random reason Tamiya have decided to bring it out as a full-blown kit, and it's under kit 47438. If some of you with the eagle eyes will notice that it actually comes with a pre-cut and painted body, which I'm hoping will help me win this build challenge. Now, if you haven't seen my previous one, it was a Hornet. No, it wasn't a Hornet, it was a Grasshopper. I'll put a link up here. Unfortunately, I didn't make it, and I think it was 2.5 hours. So on this one, being that the body is done for you, I'm hoping that I can achieve it in 2 to 2.5 hours. Now the actual chassis is no different really to a Hornet or a Grasshopper. The only real difference is that it's got oil shocks on the back. That's going to add a little bit of time versus the Grasshopper, but I still think it's possible. Now the decals, that's what's going to be the problem on this one, because the decals on this you have to cut out, whereas the Grasshopper came pre-cut. But I had to paint the Grasshopper, whereas I don't have to paint this. So it's all to play for. Now this build is sponsored by L&L Models. I'll put a link below. L&L Models specialise in really cool stuff like old Escort Mark 1, Mark 2 bodies. They sell kits, they sell servos and all kinds of things, but they're really good at their bodies. So they produce lots and lots of different bodies from all the 80s kind of classic cars, the Escorts, the Sierras, that kind of stuff. So go check them out, link below and in the description. And a big thanks to L&L Models for supporting the show. Right, let's unpack it and crack on. And we're all set, ready to go. So 2 hours, set an alarm, timer, 2 hours to completely build a Super Storm Dragon. It's now 11:15, so let's go. Right, first of all we've got the axles to do. Now this kit is an exact copy of a Hornet. The only difference is the body. So if you change your mind later on, you can always purchase a Hornet body and just fit it straight onto this chassis. I would always recommend using full metal bearings. Don't stick with the plastic bushes, they're shockingly bad. The Hornet chassis is a fantastic starter kit and I can highly recommend it. It's super bomb proof and goes together so well. You can put the gearbox together in 3 to 4 minutes and it's nice and simple. So that's the gearbox done. Woohoo! Right, now we need to slap on the motor. Now this kit came with a silver can motor, electronic speed controller and a pre-painted body. Now you can go slightly more powerful to a sports tuned or something like that, but going above that is kind of pointless in a chassis like this. These gearboxes run super smooth, so if you have any notching or grinding, take it to bits and check over everything to make sure you did it right. The bathtub chassis is a true icon in the RC world, and everybody knows the Hornet and the Grasshopper. It's a true classic. Fitting the gearbox to the chassis can be a bit of a pain. You've got little tiny springs that you need to keep in place when you attach the gearbox to the chassis. This can take 2 or 3 attempts to get right. Unfortunately, this is not the best part of the design, so you can get aftermarket modification parts to lock down the bottom section of the gearbox. Four screws hold everything together. When you're fitting the side impact bars, you only screw in on 2 points. The third point you do later on in the manual. Right, now we move on to do the shocks. So this is what's going to slow me down a little bit, unfortunately.
You can call me stupid. Yes, you can call me sheep. You can say I'm lazy. You can say
The shocks are one aspect of the Hornet that is an upgrade from the Grasshopper. The Grasshopper just has friction shocks, but the Hornet and the Super Storm Dragon have oil rear dampers.
you're in trouble.
When building the shocks, make sure you don't forget the MB9 free piston as well as the internal MB13 spring. If you leave these out, the shock's not going to work as designed.
But when it comes to her, you better keep it.
If you'd like to improve the suspension on this chassis, there's lots of aftermarket options available. Some are simple bolt-on options, others involve modifications to the chassis. Shop around for your options available.
If you're right, then you're in trouble, D. 'Cause I won't break, no, I know I won't wait. You're in trouble, D.
Now if you're doing dampness for the first time, don't worry, go slow, take your time. Don't worry, you will get some oil everywhere, I do constantly. One golden rule, when you put oil in the damper, when you push the piston up, don't pull the piston down quickly with the top off, otherwise you will squirt yourself in the face with oil. Not that I've done that or anything like that, but just to let you know. So we've almost got the suspension on the rear done and the rear gearbox. That's probably the bit that takes the longest. Excuse me, that's the bit that takes the longest. So we're speeding along nicely. Right, there we go. So that's the rear done. Moving on. That's the bit that's going to take the longest. Then we have to look at the electronics. Now I need to stick in. Unfortunately, I only have some pretty stupid. Oh no, I have one easy one that I can use. That'll probably do. The rest are all a bit stupid on the old power front for this kind of car, so we're not going to bother with that. Probably going to need one of these as well. Now for a chassis like this, you don't need a 25 kilo high fidelity servo. Save your money. So that was the postie. A few other bits and pieces. I'm pretty sure that's not RC. That's kitchen related. And this is a part for the Juggernaut 2. So that's cool. Now I'm going to bind my FlySky FS GT3C transmitter to a new receiver. First turn on the transmitter and set it to a blank model, then turn it off. Next, get your receiver and put your jump plug into channel 3. Once you've done that, turn on the power to the car and you should get a red flashing light on the receiver. Next, hold down the bind button on the transmitter and turn it on. The receiver red light will stop flashing. Simple as that. So the electrics are all working. I've just bound the new receiver to the transmitter and I've set the servo to center, so it saves me having to do it later, because I think in this car you can't do it without taking it out. So that's it, everything's working on the electronics front, so we are good. Always test your electronics outside the car before you spend ages fitting them and routing all the wires. Also, while you're at it, you can center the servo so that you don't have to adjust the steering later on. I can highly recommend a time challenge because it definitely gets you moving, gets your project done. The only downside is you don't really get to savour it. So if you're doing a kit for the first time, then I wouldn't do this. But I've done this, oh Jesus, God knows how many times. So I'm not missing the whole process, if you will. I'm just hustling to get it done.
.108? Oh my god! If you like what you're watching, go support RCKicks now on their Patreon page.
The electronics I fitted into this car was a Tamiya TBLE-02S electronic speed controller, and the receiver was a FlySky model FS GR3E. Links in the description. Right, the electronics are in, the rear gearbox is done, just got to put the front end on and then it should come to life. But first things first, we need to check it to make sure I haven't made a mistake. So we will fire it up again and make sure everything is as it should be. Is that off? That's off, that's on. We are good to go. It's quite easy to get the arms mixed up and have them on the wrong side, so double check it against the manual before you start fitting all the attachments, otherwise you're taking it all off and doing it again. Right, I've just changed the battery and then we'll carry on. It's only been about 4 or 5 minutes since I changed the battery. I've resumed, we've got 51 minutes to go. So it's starting to look like a car. The front is in, the back is in, electronics are in, and we're going. Right, what's next? The front suspension is next. That should be reasonably easy because it's just friction bouncy shocks. So let's keep going. This chassis is more about fun than performance, so just enjoy it for what it is. Front suspension is done. Very basic. Right. Come on. Tyres. Now this is where you burn through a lot of time trying to get the tyres done. So I'm having a few camera issues. Things are getting a bit hot because I'm just letting it run. So sorry about that. I'm having to kind of stop and start and deal with it. I've just put the centers in and I've got to screw these down. We're now at, where are we? 25 minutes and 34, 33. So I only have 25 minutes left to go to do the body. So it's going to be tight, but I've just got to screw up these. So I better shut up and just get on with it. Now, one thing I found, I don't know if I've put it in this before, but you used to use different size screws for the fronts than the rears, but they've actually done away with that now, and you use the same in the front and the rear, which threw me for a little bit because I was checking to make sure that it actually cleared and everything. Now I can't get these things in. Oh God. So that's a change that they've made from the original. Getting the centers in the tyres is also super difficult. If you're struggling, put them in hot water. It's much faster that way, and then push the rim through sideways. That's the way I do it, and you can get it done very quickly.
You promised me to tell if there's anything haunting you. You leave without saying where you're going or where to.
The easiest way I've found to put the rims together is to put the nut into the rear first, push it all the way down with the screwdriver, and then put the bolt in and do it up with your finger pressing to keep the nut in the hole.
Ooh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. And I know you feel it too, our story, it's too precious now.
Putting the wheels and tyres on the chassis is one of my favourite parts. The car starts to come to life and it looks like you're at the end of the tunnel until you realise you've got to do the body, that is.
It's our story now.
Let's go.
Okay, so I've changed the battery in the camera. We're now at 23 minutes and 58 seconds. So I've got to finish the decals. I had a bit of a clean up while I was waiting for the battery to change over because the other battery is not very good. So I was kind of waiting for this one. This is how much I've got left to do, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So let's carry on and see what we can achieve. Now, the art of cutting out decals is to take your time, make sure you have very sharp scissors or a very sharp scalpel. Some people like to use scissors to cut out all the decals, some people would rather use a scalpel and a cutting table. It's totally up to you, whatever works best. I kind of flip and flop depending on the types of decals. If it's long, straight edges, I use the scalpel. If it's smaller decals, I use scissors. Oh, just to let you know, even though this body's painted, it has a protective film on it. So don't go and attach a sticker until you removed the protective film. I managed to put one sticker, get halfway through, and then realise what was going on. So yeah, don't make that rookie mistake. I pretty much almost did it, but always check that you don't have a protective cover on it, because if you put all your decals and spend all that time and then you realize you have to buy new decals, it's a real rookie mistake, and I almost made it again. Now there's lots of different ways to fit decals to bodies. The way that I'm doing it here is I'm removing 1/5 of the backing of the decal, then you line up the decal until you've got it lined up with the body, and then you press down the section that doesn't have the backing to stick it to the body. Then you tip the decal back, remove the rest of the backing, and then slowly apply the decal. That way you've got it in the position that you want it. Other people, they use the soap and water method. Or other people, if you're fitting small decals, will use a scalpel, peel off the back completely, just put it on the scalpel and then attach it using the scalpel. So unfortunately I'm down to 1 minute 34 seconds and I still have to cut these out, so I'm not going to make the 2 hour mark unfortunately, but the 2.5 hour mark should be possible. So I'm going to push on anyway and see if I can achieve this in 2.5 hours. Now obviously you still have to do the driver, but I'm thinking I may smoke the windows instead of using the driver because I think it would look better. So I'm umming about doing that. Anyway, I've got to shut up and keep going because even 2.5 hours is going to be tricky. There's two types of decals that I really hate. One is lightning and the other, yes, flames. I hate them because you've got to cut them out and it's really difficult to get it just right. Also, the flame decals have that annoying cut in them to get decals to go round curves. They sometimes put cuts in them so that you have to remove that section so you fold it over on top of each other. I also hate them and they never sit properly. So I think we're going to call it there. That's the body pretty much done. I modified and put the numbers up here because there's a number at the front and then you can decide whether you want to have numbers on that side or not. So I'm happy with that. So we're basically down to, let's have a look, 1 minute. Now we're down just under 1 minute. So you can actually do it in 2 hours 30 minutes. But I'm not finished. I'm going to carry on because I want to smoke out the window because I don't want to use a driver. I want to smoke the windows. So I'm going to carry on anyway and then we'll just see how long it takes me. And then all I've got to do is fit this inside, as well as try and see if I can find a place for the RCKicks sticker, sign it, and we're done. So I'm going to carry on and I'll keep the timer going and then we'll see just how long, but I think all in all it'll probably be about 3 hours. Let's keep going. And there you go, totally finished. So 2.5 hours, it is possible to actually do it, but if you want to do anything extra like paint the body or blow out the windows, 3 hours. I think you could paint up the driver as well to do a full build in 3 hours. The chassis you can do pretty quickly. It's when it comes to the body, cutting out the decals and things like that. Now there's a few things I did differently on mine. I put the 18s up here to cover the joints. I wasn't too keen. The flame stickers, because they curve, they've actually put a cut in them for you so you fold them over, but I never like those because they stand out. So yeah, I struggled a little bit with that. Only big mistake I made is I actually applied one of the blue stickers to the film before I realised, and I got halfway through so I had to peel it off. That was a bit stupid, but I managed to save it. From that point of view, it doesn't look too bad now that I've smoked the windows. Now it's never going to be a Hornet or anything like that, but it's not as bad in real life. I'd recommend seeing one because in real life it isn't as ugly duckling as you think. It definitely needs the gold wheels from the Fox. Yeah, so I'm actually going to be using this car for something else. If I was going to keep it in this form, I would definitely put gold wheels on it. from the old Fox, because that looks really, really good. I'll see if I can source a picture. If I can, I'll put it up here. Whereas these white wheels, they kind of make it look a bit bland. I mean, it kind of goes, but anyway. So what's next? Well, let's just take it for a quick blast outside, just for a bit of fun. I'm pretty sure you've all seen Hornets before, but hey, let's just take it for a little zip up and down the road, and then we'll be right back. So just a fun one, and I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to do a speed build. So there we go, that's the Super Storm Dragon. I keep forgetting the name because it's not the original name. Yeah, all pretty good, drives exactly what you'd expect, and if you change your mind, you could always put a Hornet body on it. Anyway, thanks very much. Please like and subscribe, and a massive thank you to L&L Models for sponsoring this video. Link below. If you'd like to support the channel, please head over to Patreon. I'll put a link below. Thanks very much. See you guys later. Check out one of these videos for some more RC fun.